Hello. Before I present my TOK presentation, I would like to explain why I have did modification towards my knowledge question. Originally, my knowledge question was, does watching TV harm children? I did not want to isolate this idea to just children, because we also need to focus on our young adults as well as our adults in the category of health, where we're really lacking compared to other countries. As well as the maturity rate is not defined. It's not a set standard. It's not a set formula to explain how fast some children mature, whereas others mature. We haven't came down with science where we can decide how fast children grow, how we can make a family that be the most productive towards a children's life. So presenting my modified TLK presentation is Watching TV Bad for Your Eyes by Francine Chambers. In my presentation, I will explore how watching TV affects us physically, such as how it affects our eyes. In my real-life situation, when I was little, watching TV was very normal, but often my parents would say we are too close to the TV and it would cause us to have nearsightedness, such as saying your father's not a glass maker. Over time, this became a habit, to move further away from the TV screen, the computer monitor, my cell phone when I'm on Netflix. This became a subconscious action that I did constantly, and I thought it was weird that I was the only one. I realized that I did not want to endanger the sense that most of us value most, which is our sight. Sense perception is how our brain takes the information from what we see and processes it in our brains. If we compare the senses to the information theory and the mental bandwidth, we can see why most of us value the sense of sight more. This is because it dominates the information that flows into our brain, accounting for around 10 million pieces of information every second, with touch coming close after it. Some estimate the processing of visual information for a third or more of the brain's processing power. What is the information theory and the mental bandwidth? The information theory, processing theory, is a cognitive approach to understanding how the human mind transfers sensory information. This was created by George A. Miller. He was born February 3rd, 1920, in Charleston, West Virginia, and died July 22nd, 2012, at the age of 92. George A. Miller was one of the founders of the cognitive psychology field. He also contributed to the birth of psycholinguistics and cognitive science in general. Miller wrote several books and directed the development of WordNet, an online word language database used by computer programs. He authored the paper, The Magical Number 7, Plus or Minus 2, in which the insightful observed that many different experimental findings contributed together revealed the presence of an average limit of 7 for the human short-term memory compatibility. This paper is frequently cited in both psychology and the wider culture. He's also won awards such as the National Medal of Science. The mental bandwidth is how much work you can do before your brain and your body tells you need to rest. For example, if you work at your job for 40 hours a week, constantly, your brain will no longer be able to do your job effectively, or you may pass out, such as many cases with my older sister, who is now sick because she doesn't want to take advice. So, is watching too much TV bad? Does it hurt our eyes? The answer is no. It's not bad for your eyes, at least. Most experts agree that staring at the TV and computer monitors won't cause permanent damage to your eyes. But however, it may cause eye strain, a temporary but irritating sensation. But just because it affects your eyes doesn't mean that it doesn't affect other parts of your body, because other people's opinions, such as a film teacher, says that it's not healthy just to sit in one place for an hour, even if you're studying films in its craft. But where did this idea come from? Is there any truth in this idea that, TVs are bad? It can cause us to lose or weakening our senses. In some cases, it's true. Originally, this idea came from the 1960s, when more people were able to afford TVs, when TVs were more accessible in a common household. Around 1967, General Electric's many of their color TVs were due to a factory error emitting excessive X-rays. The Public Health Service officials at the time estimated the radiation from the tubes was 10 to 100,000 times the rate considered safe and normal. This was resolved by General Electric shielding the tubes inside the TV with lead glass. Health officials stated that the excessive levels of radiation wouldn't harm most viewers, but they still warned against children sitting close to the TV for more than an hour due to the X-rays shooting through the vents on the bottom of the set. This led me to my knowledge question, which is, to what extent is our actions based on faith and reason? So this idea continued over generations, even though it's been solved. Now, you're wondering how reason plays into this, and I will explain this through my knowledge, through my real life situation. First off, we need to know, what is reason? Reason is the cause or the explanation of why people do what they do. In my real life situation, I use reason because as I stopped sitting close to the TV screen, my sister would continue to, or I would constantly remind her not to. Each time we went to get our eyes checked at the eye doctor, my eyes would have no change. Whereas my sister, who would always be close to the TV, would need thicker and more thicker glasses each time. So I reasoned that her closeness to the TV was the cause of her wearing grandma glasses that she often complained about. So where does faith come in? Faith comes in when I originally believed my parents, because this shows that I already had faith in my parents and what they said was true from further trust in my parents from what they've shown previously in my life. But my faith was furthered when I used my reason to strengthen my faith. So the strength of my parents was strengthened by my reasoning, as well as through observing my sisters. Another example of faith is the picture of a dog in my presentation. The dog has new legs, the leg that the dog was not born with, but the dog still believes and trusts that these legs will work just as fine as the ones before. So he does not handicap himself and just sit there and die. He instead keeps moving forward and uses his legs because he knows that they'll be able to hold him up. In conclusion, both reason and faith play a big role in whether you find something fishy or you believe or trust something completely of word of mouth. So when Netflix asks, "Are you still watching?" you can click continue watching guilt-free.